that also contributes to the skin color a little bit. Now, keratin is present in some fruits or vegetables a lot. Okay? For example, what? Carrots. Carrots are heavily filled with keratin, right? A lot of keratin in carrots. How about orange? A lot of keratin there, right? So in some fruits or veggie, you have plenty of keratin. But in human, you have very small amount. Hemoglobin, another type of pigments present inside the red blood cell, RBC. Color is what? Hemoglobin color is red, right? That's why the blood color is red. That's why red blood cells are called red blood cells. Why? Because of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is very strongly red color, okay? Deep red color. And that gives the color of the blood. Now, how hemoglobin contributes to skin color? Your skin has blood flow, right? I mentioned skin has blood flow. You know, if blood flow in the skin increases, the color changes, right? You can look at someone's face. When someone gets excited, right? Color of the face changes because more blood is flowing there. Make sense? So we know that the blood in the skin also contributes to the skin color. If more blood flows, color will be pinkish, right? Like reddish. Now, you know a clinical condition that is called anemia. Have you heard that? Anemia? If someone's blood has less hemoglobin, the color of the skin will become pale color, right? So by looking at the skin color, you can, suspect that someone might have lower hemoglobin. Make sense? So we know that hemoglobin contributes to the skin color. Now, by looking at the skin color, you can diagnose some clinical conditions. I have already mentioned anemia. If the skin is pale, that tells that that person might have less hemoglobin, lower concentration of hemoglobin in the blood, right? Hypertension, when someone's blood pressure increases, right? More blood flows. So you can, by looking at the face particularly, you can tell that person might have high blood pressure, right? So by looking at the face, flushed skin, you can tell. Jaundice. What kind of color changes occur in jaundice? Yellowish coloration of the skin and mucous membrane, right? Why? Because when hemoglobin breakdown occurs, hemoglobin is converted to bilirubin. So hemoglobin is red, we know that, red color. But when breakdown of hemoglobin occurs, it becomes bilirubin. Have you heard this? Bilirubin. So bilirubin is yellow pigment. So red pigment becomes yellow colored pigments, bilirubin. So if someone's body has more than normal amount of bilirubin, the skin color will become yellowish, and that is called jaundice. Excessive breakdown of hemoglobin or red blood cell. Cyanosis is the bluish coloration of the skin. Have you heard that? Have you seen that or heard that? When the skin color turns bluish, lack of oxygen, right? So that means more carbon dioxide in the blood. So those are few examples how the color changes of the skin helps you to diagnose the disease or complications. Okay, now glands of the skin. Remember, all the glands of your skin, both sweat and sebaceous, all those glands are exocrine type glands. In your body, you have two types of glands, endocrine and exocrine. Make sense? We talked about endocrine glands, right? Pituitary, pineal, thyroid, thymus, adrenal glands. We talked about all those endocrine glands, right? But skin glands are what? Exocrine, not endocrine. Is it clear? Okay. Now, the exocrine glands secrete the chemicals in different ways. And by looking at the type of secretion or mode of secretion, we divide the exocrine glands into three types of exocrine glands based on the mode of secretion, how they secrete. How they secrete the chemicals, based on that we divide the exocrine glands into three types: merocrine, apocrine and holocrine. Is it clear? Now let's see how they secrete the chemicals. These are the cells of your gland. Merocrine glands. Merocrine glands do what? Form vesicles, and the chemicals start to accumulate inside the vesicles. Okay, so inside the cells, the vesicles are formed, and vesicles get filled with the chemicals. Then what happens? These vesicles move to the apical ends here. You know, the free end is called the apical end. So these vesicles will go to the apical end of these cells. Okay? And then next what happens? Exocytosis. Rupture of these vesicles, release the chemicals to the outside by exocytosis. Rupture. Exocytosis, you already know. Exocytosis is the rupture of the vesicles. So that's the mode or method of secretion from the merocrine glands. Okay. Then apocrine gland. This is apocrine gland cells. These are the apocrine gland cells. What happens? No vesicles are formed inside the cells. The chemicals are produced inside the cells, and these chemicals, chemical molecules, go to the accumulate at the upper end of the cells. So gradually they move to the upper end like this. Okay, and then what happens is very interesting. Now the chemicals are at the upper end of the cells, and the entire upper portion of these cells are destroyed. Bottom part remains there. Entire upper portion of these cells are destroyed. So the chemicals are released. So this is called apocrine type secretion. Occurs in apocrine glands. Whole upper portion of the cells are destroyed. Now, what happens is, see, after the chemicals are released, bottom part is still there, right? So from the bottom part, again the upper portions will be formed. Again the chemicals will accumulate here, and the upper portion of these cells will be destroyed again. Okay? So that's how the cells continue secreting the chemicals. Okay? By shedding of the upper top portion of the cells. That's apocrine. Now the last one, holocrine. Holocrine glands. Holocrine glands are interesting. You have the stem cells here, and these are the cells of the gland, and you have stem cells. Chemicals are produced by these cells. So these are the chemical molecules, and what happens? The whole cell is completely destroyed. Death of the entire cell occurs. Complete destruction of those cells occurs to release the chemicals. So chemicals will be released, and from these stem cells, new cells will be produced from the underlying stem cells. That's why stem cells are there, because these cells are completely destroyed. So new cells must be produced from the stem cells. So this is holocrine secretion. You know that term, have you heard this? Holocaust? Massive death, right? So these cells are dying. All these cells are being destroyed, right? And by the death of the cells, the chemicals are being released from the stem cells. New cells are being produced. Now, why? You need to know 3 types of secretion or 3 types of exocrine glands, because in your skin you have all these 3 types of glands or secretions. Skin has sweat glands and sebaceous glands. There are 2 types of sweat glands. Write it down. 2 types of sweat glands. What are those 2 types of sweat glands? Eccrine sweat glands and apocrine sweat glands. Eccrine sweat glands are also called merocrine because they secrete this way, merocrine. So eccrine are also called merocrine sweat glands. And apocrine sweat glands will secrete this way. Make sense? So eccrine sweat glands will secrete this way. That's why they are also called merocrine. And apocrine, you know, this is apocrine. The top portion will be destroyed. Make sense? So those are 2 types of sweat glands. Eccrine sweat glands secrete watery sweat, highly watery. About 99% is water. So 99% of eccrine secretion is water. Other chemicals are sodium chloride, which is what? Salt. Sodium chloride is salt. You all know that, right? We have also talked about that. So that's why if you taste the sweat, it is salty, right? Slightly salty. Sodium chloride. Also vitamin C, antibodies, metabolic wastes are present. Gets out through the ducts. You have seen in today's lab, you have seen the sweat ducts and pores, right? Remember that? So from the gland, the sweat gets out through the duct and then through the pore to the outside of the skin. Function is thermoregulation, since 99% is what? Water, right? So water takes heat out from the body. We know that water has high heat capacity, right? So thermoregulation, regulation of body temperature, lowering the body temperature is the main function because it is mainly water. Apocrine sweat glands are are confined to axillary and anogenital areas. Those areas are closed, gets less, exposed. And the secretion is oily, not highly watery. This secretion is oily. So you see two types of sweat glands, eccrine and apocrine. And one is highly watery, another is oily. The watery one is thermoregulation, does thermoregulation. And oily secretion can inactivate the microorganisms. Inactivate the microorganisms. Okay? Where the chance of microorganisms to grow in that areas, you have this type of sweat glands, like axillary or armpit areas or anogenital areas. Sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are important because they secrete oily secretion, and the mode of secretion is this one, the last one, holocrine, by complete destruction of the cells. Secretion occurs, okay? And widely distributed in the body, and these sweat glands get matured at puberty. And most of them grows from the hair follicles. That's why you see that sebaceous glands are attached to the hair follicles. You see here, this is the hair follicle, right? You know that sebaceous glands are attached to the follicles because they grow from the follicles. Okay? The oily secretion is called sebum. So sebum is the name of the secretion, and the sebum has bactericidal action. That means can kill the bacteria, destroy the bacteria. Also, the sebaceous oily secretion keeps the skin and hair smooth and oily. Okay, so if someone has a lot of sebaceous glands, you don't need to use the cream, or skin is always like smooth. You will see some people have dry skin, right? Some people have like more oily skin. Okay, so skin glands are what kind of glands? Exocrine or endocrine? All skin glands are what? Exocrine. Okay, and exocrine glands could be three types, right? Based on the mode of secretion: merocrine, apocrine, holocrine, right? Merocrine cells produce the vesicles. Vesicles move to the apical ends, and rupture of the vesicles or exocytosis releases the chemicals to the outside. Is it clear? One type of sweat glands are this type. Is it clear? One type of sweat glands are this type. That secretes a lot of water. Another type of sweat glands are apocrine sweat glands, right? That means what? They produce the chemicals. Chemicals move to the upper end, and the whole upper portion of the cells are destroyed, right? So, apocrine. This is oily secretion. And then sebaceous glands uses the holocrine. That means the complete destruction of the cells occur to release the chemicals. Sebaceous. And sebaceous secretion is called sebum, which is oily, and it has bactericidal action and keeps the skin and hair soft and wet. Okay, now we'll see the hair. Hair consists of dead keratinized cells. You know keratinized cells, right? Filled with keratin. Keratinized cells get filled with what? Keratin. Now remember, keratin could be different types. In your skin, the keratin is slightly different than the keratin of your hair. Which one is more durable? What do you think? After death, skin will be destroyed first or hair will be destroyed? So which one has the keratin that is more durable? Which one is destroyed easily, skin or hair? What do you think? Skin is destroyed easily. Hair will stay, after death, hair will be found like many years after. So which one has more durable keratin? Hair. Make sense? Yes. After death, if, forensic, test is done, the body is discovered, they find that still the hair is there after many years. Other tissues are destroyed rather easily. Anyway, so keratin in your hair is more durable than the keratin of your skin. Now, hair is dead or alive? Dead. Only the hair root has the cells, stem cells, those are alive. That's why the hair grows from there, right? But the hair that you see from outside, hair shaft is dead. That's why you don't have any sensation, right? When you cut it, no sensation. So, dead keratinized cells. And the keratin of your hair is more durable than the soft keratin of the skin. And the color of your hair depends on the melanin. If the melanin of the hair is dark, then the color of the hair will be dark. And the amount of melanin and the color of the melanin gives the color of the hair. After age 40, the secretion or production of melanin declines a lot, and that's why we get a lot of gray or white hair. White hair due to lack of melanin. Okay. Now, if you see the structure of a hair, this is the skin, okay? This is the shaft part of the hair, and inside the skin you have the follicle and root. So this is follicle, and this is the root. You already know this is the shaft. Okay? So if I cut the shaft part of the skin and see under the microscope, I'll see 3 layers in it. 3 structures. Cuticle, the outer layer, then cortex is the middle, and innermost area is called the medulla. Okay? So cuticle is the outer layer, make sense? Then middle is the cortex, and innermost is called the medulla. So those are 3. Now, if I cut here, that is the shaft. If I cut here, you have shaft inside. Look at this. The shaft goes in. So you have shaft here, but you have additional layers around the shaft. So you have the shaft, that means those 3 structures here, but extra layers around it in the follicle. So here you have 1, 2, 3, as well as additional layers around the shaft. So which layers you will see in the follicle? This is the cross section of a follicle. So you see the shaft is this part, medulla, cortex, cuticle. Now these are the additional layers in the follicle. External epithelial root sheath. Well, let's start from inner part. Around the cuticle, you have, outside of the cuticle, you have internal epithelial root sheath. Okay. Then you have the external epithelial root sheath. Then you have a thin glassy layer, this one, and the connective tissue, the outermost. Those are 4 additional layers around the shaft. Internal epithelial root sheath, external epithelial root sheath, glassy membrane, and connective tissue root sheath. This is the hair root. In the hair root, you have few structures here, and these cells are live cells, and they can multiply to grow the hair. Okay? Just know that in the hair root, you have the hair papilla inside, and around the papilla, you have matrix and melanocytes. These are the melanocytes that produce melanin and gives the color of the hair. Okay. Types of hair. 2 types of hair you see in the adults. One is called the vellus, another is the terminal hair. Vellus is pale fine body hair of children and adult female, soft fine hair. And terminal hair are coarse, thick hair. For example, hair of your eyebrow, okay, scalp, face, axillary hair, so pubic hair. So those are terminal hair, thick, coarse hair. Baldness. Baldness could be 2 types. One is called alopecia, which happens to everybody. Hair loss occurs in both male and female after age 40. After 40, we lose a lot of hair, both male and female. It happens to everybody, and that is called alopecia. True or frank baldness is genetically determined. If the parent has baldness, the offspring, the children get that one because it is genetically transmitted. And the gene that prevents the hair follicle to produce the cells, new cells. So that's why the hair doesn't grow. Regulation of temperature, we have talked about that. Your skin has the sweat glands and blood flow. If the body temperature increases, sweat gland secretes sweat, releases sweat. Now there is a question. Who tells the sweat glands, right, to release sweat? Somebody has to send signal to the sweat glands, right? You release the sweat. That is the hypothalamus in your brain. A structure in the brain that is called hypothalamus that will detect and decide how much sweat should be released. So hypothalamus sends signal to the sweat glands, and that causes the release of sweat secretion. Hypothalamus also sends signal to the blood vessels of the skin and causes vasodilatation. So more blood will flow in the body surface, more heat will be released. So that's how the body temperature will go down, by sweating and increasing blood flow. We have talked about that before. Just know that. Who tells the sweat glands to release the sweat and tells the blood vessels to dilate? Hypothalamus. Okay. If body temperature drops, then your muscular system, skeletal muscles, help to elevate or increase the body temperature. How? Shivering. Frequent contraction of the skeletal muscles increases the metabolism, metabolic activities, and that produces heat. Dermatitis. Itis is the inflammation, right? If you see any word ends with itis, that means what? Inflammation. Like meningitis, tonsillitis, conjunctivitis, rhinitis, right? Nephritis, hepatitis, bronchitis, laryngitis, pharyngitis. We use all those itis, right? To indicate the inflammation of that organ or structure. Now, dermatitis is the inflammation of what?
Skin.
Which layer of the skin? Epidermis or dermis? Dermis, right? So, dermis. Now, you know that dermis has two layers. Outer papillary, inner reticular. Remember that? Okay. This one is formed by what type of tissue? Loose, areolar. And this is dense, irregular, right? Now you tell me which one is hard, which one is soft. Loose areolar is soft because few fibers, right? Dense is hard. Make sense? Very tough. So that's why when inflammation occurs, it could be due to mechanical injury, scratch or any kind of mechanical injury, or by microorganisms, whatever. The injury occurs in the outer papillary layer. This layer is very tough because dense, irregular. So dermatitis usually involves the outer papillary layer, inflammation of the outer papillary layer of the dermis. That's what it says. Skin cancer or carcinoma. 3 types of skin cancer are common. Now, what can cause skin cancer? One cause is frequent exposure to UV radiation. Too much sun UV radiation. Okay, that can cause skin cancer. Another is, chemical irritation. Those people, work to fix the roads, to fix the road. They handle what? That tar chemical? Tar, right? Tar. So you need protection. If you touch that frequently, right, that will irritate the skin cells. And that can cause also cancer. So if you irritate the cells, the structure of DNA can be changed, and once the DNA structure is changed, that cell can behave abnormally and multiply abnormally. Normal multiplication, we know that, right? Mitosis. But if the frequent exposure of UV radiation or frequent exposure to those chemicals that can change the structure of the DNA of your cell, that can suddenly trigger the uncontrolled abnormal multiplication of the cells. Make sense? And that is actually the cancer. Uncontrolled abnormal multiplication of the cells. Now, some stores, they sell the lotion. You will see it prevents UV radiation. Those are not all of those are very effective. Okay, although when they sell, they will tell you, right, nice, that this will protect 100%. Okay, not all of those lotions, UV protecting lotions, are very effective. Anyway, now carcinoma could be basal cell carcinoma, which is least malignant, that means good, most common. So most common type is least malignant, which is a good news, right? Because you can easily treat or cure this one. Squamous cell carcinoma is second most common, and melanoma is the most dangerous, most malignant. Now, malignant tumor or cancer could be malignant or benign. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Okay. So which one is bad, which one is not that bad?
Benign is good.
Yeah, this is not bad, this is bad, right? Why? Because in this case metastasis occurs. Metastasis means that cells can invade, abnormal cells, cancer cells can spread far away from the site. Make sense? Quickly spread. That is called metastasis. So in malignant cancer, metastasis occurs, and that is dangerous. So in melanoma, it is most malignant, and metastasis occurs. Basal cell carcinoma, this least harmful one, slowly invade in dermis and hypodermis, and if you just remove the tissue from there, that will take care of that cancer. So the chance of cure by surgical excision is very high. 99% cases you can treat it by surgical removal of that local tissue. Squamous cell carcinoma often occurs in certain areas like scalp, ears, lower lip, and hands. You can treat either by removing the tissue surgically or by giving radiation therapy. Radiation can kill the cells. You already know that when we talked about the atoms, right? We talked about that. So we can kill the cells by radiation. Sometimes we do both. Melanoma is the most malignant and dangerous because melanocytes are involved. The cells that get abnormal are melanocytes. Remember melanocytes? Melanocytes produce what? Melanin, that pigment, right? Dark pigment. So the melanocytes proliferate or multiply abnormally, very high rate. And you already know melanocytes produce melanin, right? So those melanocytes will produce plenty of melanin. So the color of that area will change because of a lot of melanin. Make sense? So by looking at the color, you can detect that melanocytes got cancers abnormal. And the color depends on what kind of melanin, what colored melanin is being produced. Usually black, brown, tan, sometimes it could be red or blue. Now, since the metastasis is high, from outside it looks like only this part of the tissue got involved, but actually it invades a lot. So what you have to do, you have to do very wide spread surgical removal. Like if you see here, you have to remove a lot of tissue from there. You don't know how much it has spread or gone underneath. So wide surgical incision accompanied by immunotherapy. Immunotherapy is a very good method in testing. In immunotherapy, we use markers. Have you heard markers? inject marker into the body, and those markers are made in a way that they will find the cancerous cells. Okay, those markers will find the cancerous cells and will mark them that these are the abnormal cells. Okay, then you inject the antibodies to specifically target those cells and destroy them. Make sense? So that's a very effective way to destroy the cancer cells, abnormal cells. Okay, so 3 types of carcinoma. I may ask you which one is most dangerous, or metastasis is high, which one is most common, which one is least dangerous. Now, burns. Another thing we very often hear, right? Why we hear burns of the skin? Because skin covers the body. So it takes the first hit from outside. Now burn, depending on the layer got destroyed, we classify the burn into 3 types. First degree, if the epidermis alone, or only the epidermis is destroyed, that is the first degree burn. Second degree, if the epidermis and some part of dermis is destroyed, that is the second degree burn. And third degree, if both epidermis and dermis are entirely destroyed, that is the third degree burn. So in third degree burn, no stem cells are even there. So everything is destroyed, both epidermis and dermis. So skin grafting is necessary because no cells are remaining there, no stem cells are there. So you have to get tissue from skin from another part of the body and to graft it. Make sense? Transplant the skin. In first degree burn, by looking from outside, you can tell this is first degree burn, only redness, swelling, and pain, of course. Second degree, if you see blisters appear, and third degree, the entire skin is destroyed. So you won't see any redness, you won't see any blister. The skin is completely destroyed. No pain is felt because the nerves are destroyed. No edema because the blood vessels are completely destroyed. Okay? No blood is going there. In this patient, on the hand, you see some areas got redness, that means first degree, and some areas you see the blisters, second degree. So first degree burn in these areas, and second degree burn here. And this is third degree burn, right? It's really, you don't see any redness, you don't see any swelling, because no pain, the whole skin has been destroyed. Okay, so that's the burns. Now the main problems of burns are dehydration, and electrolytic imbalance. Okay. These two are the main concerns, main problems of burn. Dehydration, that means the loss of water, and electrolyte imbalance. It's like sodium, potassium, those electrolytes are lost from the body, and those electrolytes are very important for your heart function. If hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, hyponatremia occurs, then heart cannot function normally. So that can kill the patient. Okay. Nail. Okay. I'll quickly go over this. Nail is not my favorite. Okay. I know some of you like take long time to take care of nails. That's good. I can't. Okay. So just know the parts. Nail has body, pre-edge, root, nail force, hyponacium, nail bed, lunula. So let's see if you can see those structures. This is the nail from the top. Most proximal part that you can see, part of nail is inside, you don't see that. The exposed part has following structures. The proximal most whitish area, that is called the lunula. Then this part is called the nail bed, nail body, this part. So lunula, body. Body rests on the tissue, that is called the nail bed. And the part that is not supported by nail bed, that's the extended part, that is called the free edge. Now the force, lateral nail force. Both sides of the body you have lateral nail force, and this is proximal nail force. Okay. Here you see this is just a cross section. So this is the body, and under the body this is the tissue that supports the body, that's the nail bed. Okay.